clicked on this because some part of you knows the real danger isn't failure. It's waking up one day and realizing you lived the wrong life. That doesn't happen all at once. It happens slowly, through every silent compromise, every small lie told just to fit in, every truth you swallowed to stay safe. Until one morning you catch your reflection and can't recognize the person staring back. That isn't fate, it's a pattern. And Friedrich Nietzsche saw it coming. Behind all his rage, behind all his provocations, was one urgent message. Learn now or you will suffer later. And if you are listening now, it means there is still time. The first truth is this: you were never really taught how to think. You were only taught how to obey. From childhood you were told to raise your hand, sit still, memorize, repeat. Rarely were you asked, "What do you think?" You were only told what to think. And worse, you were rewarded for repeating it back. Nietzsche believed this was the slow death of the individual spirit, because the crowd doesn't want you to think. It wants you to agree. So most people grow up confusing obedience with intelligence. They become experts at mimicking success, following rules, doing what is expected, but they lose the ability to question. And when you lose that, you lose more than freedom. You lose yourself. Real thinking is dangerous. It threatens systems, it shakes foundations. But Nietzsche saw clearly that a life without independent thought is not really a life. It's just a performance in someone else's story. And by the time most people realize they never truly thought for themselves, they are already trapped in a life they didn't choose. The second truth is harder. Most people don't want truth. They want comfort. If you hand them truth, they will reject it, because comfort is warm. It's predictable. It's safe. The truth, on the other hand, is often cold, ugly, and inconvenient. Nietzsche warned about this in every era. People pretend to love truth, but what they really want is reassurance. They don't want to be awakened. They want to be soothed. So they surround themselves with easy answers, feel-good slogans, and opinions that match the group, not because they are evil, but because they are afraid. But truth doesn't care if you're afraid. It doesn't soften itself for your feelings. It shows reality as it is, not as you wish it to be. And most people can't handle that. So they choose ignorance, distraction, and fantasy. Until one day truth breaks into their comfortable world. And by then it is often too late. The third truth is this: what hurts you is often what reveals you. Most people treat pain like poison. They avoid it, medicate it, distract from it. But Nietzsche saw pain as a mirror. He said, to live is to suffer. To survive is to find meaning in the suffering. What you fear reveals what you are attached to. What breaks you exposes what you neglected. What you fight shows who you think you are. Carl Jung later echoed this, warning, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Pain is one of the ways the unconscious speaks. If you run from it, you never hear the message. If you face it, you become something stronger than the thing that once hurt you. But most people only realize this after years of running in circles. Years lost avoiding the very thing that could have set them free. The fourth truth is about the crowd. It is rarely right, but always loud. There is something seductive about the crowd. It gives identity, purpose, certainty. You feel safe because everyone believes the same thing. But Nietzsche warned the crowd is not wise. It only reacts. It does not think, it repeats. He wrote, insanity in individuals is rare, but in groups, parties, nations, and epochs, it is the rule. Most people wake up too late, realizing they built their lives on the approval of people who were just as lost as they were. They didn't chase truth. They chased validation. They didn't stand for something. They blended in. And by the time they see the crowd was wrong, they've already given away their individuality. The fifth truth cuts even deeper. Kindness without strength will make you a target. You were probably told to be nice, to be agreeable, to be polite. But Nietzsche never glorified blind kindness. He saw that kindness without power becomes weakness. Because predators don't respect kindness. They exploit it. Takers don't stop because you are generous. They simply take more. Nietzsche wrote, "The weak are always forced to lie." Why? Because without strength, honesty is dangerous. You hide your needs. You swallow your boundaries. You silence your voice, all in the name of peace. But peace without power is not peace. It is submission. The person who is both kind and strong can change lives. But the person who is only kind will be used, betrayed, and forgotten. And most people learn this only after years of disappointment, often at the hands of those they trusted most. So here you stand at a crossroads. You've now heard 5 of Nietzsche's warnings, 5 truths that people usually discover only after paying the price. But this is only the beginning, because the next truths go deeper. They explain why your discipline disappears, why your shadow sabotages you, and why those who say they support you may turn against you when you start to rise. If you're ready for that, let's continue. The 6th truth is one of the hardest to accept. Discipline isn't motivation. It's self-respect. Most people chase motivation as if it were some magic fuel. They wait for the right mood, the right words, the perfect moment. But Nietzsche saw through that illusion. He knew the person who waits for motivation has already surrendered their power. Discipline, he believed, wasn't about punishment or hustle culture. It was about integrity. It was about choosing action even when desire is absent. Think about it. You don't brush your teeth because you're inspired. You do it because it's who you are. You don't keep a boundary because it's easy. You keep it because it matters. Carl Jung once observed, "You are what you do, not what you say you'll do." And in that sense, discipline is identity. When your actions align with your values, even when it's uncomfortable, you become dependable not just to others, but to yourself. But when your choices rise and fall with your moods, you are building on sand. Most people only realize this after years of broken promises to themselves. Years of goals abandoned, projects left unfinished, opportunities lost. They think they lack motivation, but what they truly lack is respect. Respect for their own word. Respect for the part of themselves that knows what matters. The person with discipline doesn't always feel like doing the work, but they do it anyway. And over time, they become unstoppable. The 7th truth reveals something uncomfortable about relationships. People will support you until you threaten their identity. Everyone loves the idea of your growth, as long as it doesn't disrupt their comfort. As long as you don't outgrow the role they assigned you. Nietzsche was brutally honest about this. He believed most people don't consciously want you to fail, but they also don't want you to evolve too far beyond them. Your success highlights their excuses. Your transformation forces them to confront their own stagnation. And so when you begin to set boundaries, pursue ambition, or speak your truth, you may notice the silence. Some will distance themselves. Some will mock. Some will suddenly decide they don't vibe with you anymore. This doesn't mean you're wrong. It means you've stopped shrinking to keep others comfortable. It means your very presence has started to expose what they've been avoiding. And most people learn this lesson only after losing relationships they thought would last forever. But those bonds weren't built on your authentic self. They were built on the version of you that stayed small, and that version is gone. The 8th truth is darker still. Your shadow will sabotage you if you ignore it. We all carry a hidden self. The anger we bury. The shame we silence. The envy we deny. The selfishness we pretend we don't have. Nietzsche, like Jung after him, understood that suppressing the shadow only makes it stronger. Jung warned, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. And your shadow is part of that unconscious. The more you reject it, the more control it takes. It slips into your decisions, whispers doubts when things are going well, lashes out when you're close to peace. People often think being good means being harmless. But real strength comes from integrating your darkness, not denying it. Imagine your shadow as a child locked in a basement. The longer you ignore it, the louder it screams. The more damage it causes in secret. But when you finally face it, when you listen, acknowledge, and integrate, it stops being a monster. It becomes an ally. Most people learn this only after destroying something precious and realizing too late that it wasn't life that betrayed them. It was the unacknowledged parts of themselves they refused to see. The ninth truth speaks to one of the most seductive traps of all. You cannot think clearly if you are always pleasing everyone. On the surface, people-pleasing looks kind. It feels safe. But Nietzsche saw through it. He saw it for what it is, a mask. When you prioritize others' expectations above your own truth, you lose access to your clarity. You second-guess every word. You overanalyze every decision. You dilute your instincts until you can't hear your own voice. People-pleasing is not generosity. It is fear in disguise, fear of rejection, fear of confrontation, fear of being left behind. The tragedy is this: the more you please others, the less they see you. Nietzsche believed that to truly know yourself, you must be willing to disappoint people. Not out of cruelty, but out of necessity. Because your authentic life will always contradict someone else's expectations. And most people don't discover this until much later in life. They look around and wonder, why does no one actually know me? The answer is painful. They trained others to love their performance, not their truth. By the time the truth demands to be seen, it often feels too late. Those around you may not recognize the real you. Or worse, they may resent it. But ignoring this truth only delays the inevitable. Because authenticity, once awakened, refuses to stay silent. You've now heard 9 truths. Each one is a warning whispered from your future self. Ignore them, and you drift further into a life that isn't yours. Face them and you begin to awaken. But we are not finished. The next truths go even deeper. They explain why you can feel empty even after doing everything right, why attention can never replace meaning, and why death itself is not an ending but a mirror. If you are ready, let's go further. The 10th truth is one that feels like betrayal. You can do everything right and still feel empty. We are taught from the beginning that if we follow the rules, check the boxes, play it safe, then happiness will arrive. Study hard. Get the degree. Find the partner. Build the career. Stay out of trouble. Do all that and life is supposed to reward you. But Nietzsche saw through this illusion. He believed that doing everything right often doesn't lead to joy. It leads to quiet despair. Because you can live by every rule society hands you and still end up trapped in someone else's idea of meaning. And when you finally arrive, after years of sacrifice, you expect fulfillment. But what you find instead is a haunting question. Why don't I feel whole? Nietzsche warned that this emptiness comes from confusing structure with substance, from replacing inner truth with outer validation, from living by expectations instead of exploring desire. Most people realize this too late, once their lives are already built. By then, the undoing feels impossible. So they either numb the ache or keep performing. But there is another way. You stop asking, "What should I do?" And you start asking, "What is mine to do?" That question is the path out of the void. The 11th truth is even more urgent. Meaning is rare, and attention is a poor substitute. We live in a culture obsessed with being seen. Likes, views, shares, numbers. It feels like validation. It feels like connection. But Nietzsche would have called it a performance. Attention is cheap. Meaning is sacred. Why do people chase attention? Because it's fast. It's measurable. It gives you instant feedback. But it's hollow. And when the spotlight fades, as it always does, what's left? Nietzsche believed that meaning doesn't come from how many people notice you. It comes from what you notice when you're alone. It comes from doing work that speaks to your essence. From speaking words that matter even if no one claps. From living in a way that aligns with truth, even if it goes unseen. Carl Jung added to this insight, reminding us that the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. And becoming who you are is not about attention. It is about authenticity. Most people discover this only after chasing applause for years, only to feel unseen in the center of the stage. They built a persona they couldn't live without. And in doing so, they lost the self they barely knew. The 12th truth is about death. We think of death as a thief. It steals time. It steals people we love. It interrupts plans. But Nietzsche didn't fear death. He saw it as a mirror. Because when you remember you will die, you remember what matters. He posed the question of eternal recurrence. If you had to live this exact life again and again for eternity, would you choose it? Most people would hesitate. And that hesitation is the point. Death strips away illusions. It forces clarity. It asks, are you spending your time or wasting it? Are you loving deeply or just pretending? Are you living or just continuing? Jung also spoke of this confrontation with mortality, reminding us that wholeness requires facing not only life but also death. Because only in the shadow of death do we see how precious life really is. Most people only realize this when time feels short, when loss crashes into their world, when the clock stops feeling infinite and starts closing in. And by then, the life unlived often haunts more than death itself. The 13th and final truth is perhaps the harshest. Your freedom will cost you everything that was fake. Nietzsche believed that true freedom, not just external but psychological, requires destroying illusions. It means giving up false friendships, empty titles, masks of belonging. It means releasing the need to be liked. Because freedom is not given, it is taken. And the price is everything that isn't real. True freedom is terrifying. It's standing alone in your truth. It's saying no when approval is on the line. It's refusing to belong to what no longer fits. It's realizing that belonging to yourself is enough. Most people flirt with freedom. They dip their toes in it. But when the shedding begins, when the familiar starts to fall away, they panic. Because even false safety feels safer than the unknown. But Nietzsche insisted on this. Until you lose what was never truly yours, you'll never discover what is. And most people don't understand this until years of resentment catch up with them. Until they find themselves asking, why do I feel like a stranger in my own life? So here we are. 13 truths. Each one painful, each one liberating. Nietzsche didn't share them to shame you. He shared them to awaken you. Because every truth is a fork in the road. Ignore it and you drift. Live it and you begin. Maybe you're not ready to change everything right now. That's okay. Awareness always comes before action. But if even one of these truths unsettled you, don't let it fade. Because the moment of recognition is the moment of choice. And the choice you make now shapes the life you will either regret or finally claim as your own.